the backstage wristband with my name in the wrong band. The wristband was folded into my wallet like it had paid admission to my life. Neon orange, the kind clubs use when they want you to glow under black light, stamped with a logo I knew from 1,000 posters, Riot Harbor Fest, and a line in block caps that made my ribs feel crowded, for Eli. On the inside, where they usually print the date, someone had written a dressing room number with a fine black marker, the handwriting of people who sign contracts as often as checks. D17. Under that, crammed against the adhesive, a sentence that pretended to be shy. If you still want the truth, eh? I tune things for a living. Guitars, amps, the thrum inside rooms that don't know where to put their breath. I spend my days in a shop that smells like lemon oil and the patience of teenage bands. Nights I freelance as a stage tech so guitarists can treat physics like a suggestion and still sound accidental. I live with Tomas, who designs exhibitions that talk strangers into standing still. We've been together 5 years. We keep the good bowls in reach. We pour 2 glasses of water before the sentence that changes a day. Because some rituals save you even when you don't deserve the favor. Tomas had come home the night before smelling like cedar and a dressing room that thought it was a thesis. He said he ran into a donor at the arena and got roped into a set change conversation, while the headliner made smoke machines think they'd gone to college. He kissed my neck as if it were a place he had read about. He undressed in the living room like the bedroom had done something wrong. The wristband in my wallet didn't belong to our house. I hadn't been backstage all week. I turned it over, pressed my thumb to the ink until it warmed, waited for it to confess. It didn't. The morning outside our windows was a late August heat nobody had been promised, the city dragging itself toward evening with its tongue out. I walked to the arena because trains invite strangers into confessions that already have enough witnesses. Riot Harbor sits on the waterfront like it enjoys watching itself reflected. The security line smelled like sunscreen and unwise decisions. I showed the guard the band with my name on it. He snapped it around my wrist with a grin that felt like mercy. The tape tugged the hairs on my arm and reminded me I had chosen adult behavior when I could have chosen theater. Backstage is a city in miniature, alleyways of cable, forklifts that think they are more important than physics, strangers carrying the same case as if it were a newborn. Dressing room D17 was down a corridor lit like an apology. The door was cracked. That's either a hello or a dare. I knocked anyway. Courtesy is what you offer your better self when the rest of you is tired. Avery opened the door with one hand still on the latch. I knew him from too many posters, a guitarist whose collarbones get their own interviews. In real life, he was taller than the lens suggests, jaw less arrogant up close, hair surrendered to the humidity and somehow made better for it. He had a shirt on, but it was doing its job lazily. He smelled like cedar and the last hour of a room that had been careless with decisions. "You came," he said, and stepped back like he didn't want the knob to think it was a witness. "You wrote my name on a wristband and shoved it in my wallet," I said. "That's persuasive." He smiled, which surprised me by not coming with victory. "Tomas makes a wonderful liar when the lighting is good," he said. "I thought you might prefer fluorescent honesty." The room was stacked with whatever a band needs to pretend they aren't bored. 2 glasses on the table, water sweating like it had been asked to confess. A jacket I knew the cut of slung across a chair that looked embarrassed to be involved. I put my hand on the chair back for exactly a breath, and then removed it because my palm knew better than to learn that seam by feel. "How long?" I asked, and the words didn't scrape as hard as I deserved. 8 months, he said, and his mouth didn't attempt to romanticize the number. "It started with rain and an elevator and a lobby that sells permission. It kept happening because I liked being the person who didn't know the vocabulary of your living room. He came closer without touching me. Breath is a politics you don't get to vote out of. He stopped an inch from my wrist. That inch was obscene. Heat is a language skin chooses without asking for subtitles. He set his palm on the table instead, flat, deliberate, and poured water. The restraint was more erotic than anything that would have required apologies. My body filed a complaint with ethics. Ethics kicked it back stamped tomorrow. He thinks he's meeting me to end it with manners, Avery said. He forgot I write endings for a living. The door opened on a hinge that had been paid to mind itself. Tomas walked in with the expression he uses on donors who have mistaken admiration for taste. Cedar drifted in as if it had rented the air. He saw me, saw Avery, saw the bed he refused to look at, because men who hang paintings know where not to put their eyes first. He closed the door quietly. Hinges deserve dignity even when nobody else does. "Okay," he said. His voice was gentler than the room deserved. He has always known where to put volume. "You could have kept this out of our house," I said, lifting my wrist so the neon cut the light. "You chose not to." "I chose incompetence," he said, and I loved him in the corner of my chest for finding the right noun. I cheated. I told myself it was weather. I told myself home is a noun that survives rain. I told myself you are patient and therefore I could be lazy. I told myself newness was improvement. I am tired of listening to myself. Avery had moved toward the door the way decent men do when rooms are deciding whether to keep the furniture. He watched my mouth with a precision that made me want and refuse at the same time. He lifted a hand toward my neck and stopped short again. It was absurd how thankful and furious that made me. "What do you want me to do?" Tomas asked, and the grammar of it made the room less ugly. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. Next week you'll tell me what this was twice, once with your clever labels, once with small words. I'll decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." "I'll do that," he said, and the floor sounded briefly like it believed him. Avery exhaled and looked at the line where wall meets ceiling. He came near again, close enough that the tiny hairs on my arm thought about leaving their posts. He put his mouth near my ear without touching me. He wrote a paragraph I did not sign. "Thank you for not making me into a lesson," he whispered. "I would have believed you." He left without theater. The air tried to revert to ordinary and didn't. Tomas and I sat because standing would have turned into posture. The glasses sweated for all of us. I stared at the wristband on my arm, a ring pretending to be a decision, and pushed my thumb under the adhesive until it lifted. The sound it made was ridiculous and final at once. I set it on the table as if I had removed a cast. "I'm not leaving tonight," I said. "We'll walk home without touching. We'll wait at crosswalks because other people's knees and our better natures both deserve seconds. You'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow you will end it without flattering him. Next week you will bring me small words." He nodded. He didn't cry. I still love him for that. In the hallway he reached in reflex when a text stumbled with a symbol stand. His palm hovered near my hip and my body wrote yes like it had run out of other vowels. I didn't lean. A man is allowed to choose the boring tool that makes the lock turn. We walked, quiet in the way that is not punitive. The city had generously decided to be a breeze for 5 blocks. At home, the kettle performed and then behaved. He laid out a blanket on the couch the way he labels a piece nobody wants to misunderstand. I slept alone, hard, woke up feeling like somebody who had disarmed something and didn't know if it had ever been real. He ended it in the lobby where permission is a product. He came home smelling like nothing. That is the cologne I hope they sell to people who pass classes we forgot to enroll in. He told me truth twice. In the first version, he used narrative like spackle. In the second, he used the small words. He said he had loved an audience that had not watched him be kind at 7. He said he had confused spark for structure. He said he could be one person if I stopped doing his job for him. I let him. This is the part that does not pay ad revenue because it refuses finale. He slept on the couch for 6 nights and learned the geography of our door from a distance. On the 7th, he came back to bed, and we remembered lazy precision without asking the room to clap. Desire complied like a dog that has learned the rules and still enjoys being told it's good. Avery texted once, the day after. Thank you for letting me tell the truth under the worst light. I wrote back, try it when the lights are off and nobody expects it. He didn't reply, which was the second decent thing he did. Work stayed what it was. I swapped a pickup on a beat-up Strat for a kid who wanted to hear himself without growing up all at once. The screw tried to strip and then chose not to, which felt instructive. I painted open on a bodega window and left air around the letters where the owner had asked for gold. He framed it with 2 ferns and found an extra breath he hadn't known he wanted. I tightened a snare drum that didn't want to stop complaining, and it listened like a person having a good day. A week later, I saw Avery outside the museum. He looked smaller. Maybe my anger had stopped wearing stilts. He said hello and didn't try to hold my afternoon hostage. He did not smell like cedar. He had the relieved sadness of people who have survived a lesson and don't feel the need to teach it to anyone else. Here is the part people skip because it won't sell. I wanted him. I wanted the inch, the heat, the courteous delay. I wanted to take the wristband off in his mouth. I wanted to decide against myself and blame theater. I did not. Wanting is a sentence, not a command. Bodies vote. Ethics count. Boredom is underrated if it means tomorrow likes you. If another wristband appears in my wallet with my name and the wrong door, I will bring water. I will sit where the exit is obvious and not call it cowardice. If a hand rises toward my neck, I will let the inch exist and answer with a decision I can carry. I will choose verbs that keep mornings possible. End, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when I lean into a guitar on my bench and hear the notes settle into something the day can stand on, I will think of the night in the dressing room we refused a finale and chose repair instead. And I will call that choice the only kind of erotic that still holds when daylight doesn't care what story we tell about it.